My dad kicked me out mid-reception at my golden brother's wedding. You're a failure, always have been. My stepmom laughed pathetic, so I walked out and got revenge that night. Sup Reddit. My dad tried to clown me at my brother's $100,000 wedding reception. I walked out, made one phone call, and 16 minutes later the whole place learned who they'd been messing with. 30 male. Mom died when I was 15. Ovarian cancer, 7 months from diagnosis to funeral. Dad remarried stepmom 11 months later. Stepmom showed up with interior decorators before the wedding invitations went out, had mom's paintings in storage within 2 weeks. Made it real clear she wasn't interested in stepkids, just interested in playing house with a widower who had money. Caleb was 11 when mom died. Too young to hold on to who she was. Too desperate for a mother figure to see stepmoms act for what it was. I was the problem kid who kept bringing up the dead wife at dinner parties. College was 4 years of working myself half to death. Graduated with $97,000 in debt. Caleb graduated debt-free from Northwestern with a finance degree and a BMW. Dad gave a speech at Caleb's graduation about the value of investment in your children's future. I wasn't in any of the photos. At Thanksgiving, stepmom would hand me serving utensils in front of guests. You're so good at this kind of thing. Translation: stay in your lane. Help. The breaking point was 5 years back. Dad and stepmom sold the house I grew up in, the house mom died in, with her garden and her studio and everything that proved she existed, without telling me. Found out from a neighbor who texted me a picture of the sold sign. When I called Dad, he said they were moving forward, and I should too. Mom's stuff? We kept what mattered. The rest went to charity. To charity. Like mom was a tax write-off. Blocked their numbers that night. Skipped every holiday, every birthday, every graduation. Poured everything into building a catering company instead. Started with a beat-up taco truck outside UIC. Worked my rear off for 10 years straight. Resentment kept the lights on. So when Caleb's wedding invitation showed up last month with a handwritten note about wanting to rebuild our relationship and having his brother there for the biggest day of his life, I was skeptical as heck. But the note seemed real. Specific memories from when we were kids. Acknowledgement that things had gotten messed up. Genuine sounding regret. Maybe I'm stupid, but I thought, what the heck? One day. I can handle one day. Even offered to cater at cost. Basically just materials and labor. Call it a wedding gift. Caleb said they'd already booked someone. Stung a little, but whatever. I'd show up, play nice, try to be the bigger person for once. The venue was Olympia Fields Country Club, the kind of place where valet parking costs more than most people's car payments. Lake view, immaculate grounds, buildings that screamed old money. Pulled up in my Audi Q8, paid cash, fully loaded, still gets me judged by these people, and felt underdressed before I hit the door. Caleb went all in on this thing. Ceremony on the outdoor pavilion, 280 guests in white chairs, live string quartet, flower arrangements that could have fed a small country. Stepmom's fingerprints everywhere. Flashy, expensive, designed to impress people who wouldn't be impressed anyway. Got there 40 minutes early, hoping to catch Caleb before the chaos. Found him in the groom's suite looking like a nervous wreck, surrounded by groomsmen in matching suits. His face lit up when he saw me. Genuine surprise, actual happiness. That felt good for about 8 seconds. You made it, he said, pulling me into a hug. Told you I would. We talked for maybe 10 minutes. Safe topics. Weather, venue, how he was holding up. His groomsmen made polite conversation, but mostly seemed confused about who I was. Nobody introduced me as his brother. When I asked about seating, Caleb got vague. Just check the cards outside. Found my name card during cocktail hour. Table 17. I stood there holding that little card with my name printed on it, doing the math. Walked the room counting tables, adding it up in my head. Tables 1 through 8, front and center. Dad, stepmom, stepmom's parents, Caleb's in-laws, the VIPs who mattered. Premium real estate, best view in the house, close enough to hear every speech without straining. Tables 9 through 12 were Caleb's college friends and work people. The crew he actually liked. 13 through 16 were extended family who'd actually shown up to things over the years. Aunts and uncles who sent Christmas cards, cousins who remembered birthdays. Then there was 17, dead last row, shoved against the back wall next to the kitchen doors. Seated with distant cousins I'd met exactly twice, and some random guests who were obviously filler. The spare parts table. Though we had to invite him, but let's make it crystal clear where he ranks table. Caleb knew. He'd seen this seating chart, looked at where his brother was sitting, and signed off on it anyway. That's what made it worse. Not stepmom doing it, because of course she did, but Caleb approving it. Caleb knowing exactly what it meant and deciding I wouldn't care. Or deciding he didn't. The ceremony was fine. Caleb's wife seemed nice. The vows were standard. The venue was gorgeous. Everyone cried on cue. Picture perfect. Cocktail hour was a different beast. I spent 40 minutes floating solo, nursing a drink I didn't want, pretending not to notice the way people kept doing that polite double take when they realized I wasn't standing with family. You could see it in their faces. That brief confusion, the mental recalculation of who I was and why I mattered so little. Stepmom worked the room like she was campaigning for mayor, making sure everyone knew how perfect everything was, how much thought went into every detail. She saw me once near the bar, and I watched her face do this thing, this micro expression of disgust, like she'd just noticed a stain on expensive fabric. Then she pivoted 90 degrees and glided toward a cluster of women in designer dresses, laughing too loud at something that probably wasn't funny. Dad was already deep into the whiskey, that booming laugh of his getting louder with each round. The kind of drunk where everyone's your best friend until they're not. I stepped outside for air, needed a minute away from the performance. That's when I saw them. 4 white Sprinter vans in the service lot. Heritage Events Catering, printed clean across the sides. Heritage. I knew those vans. Bought them 8 months ago when we acquired Heritage after the owner retired. They'd been folded into Summit Catering's fleet, kept the Heritage branding for legacy clients who'd booked under the old name. My vans. My company. My crew inside right now plating food for 280 guests who had no idea. Called my operations manager, kept my voice level. Boss, what's up? Quick question. We have an event at Olympia Fields today? Yeah, big wedding. Heritage booking from like 9 months back. Why? I'm at that wedding. Dead silence. Then a laugh that cut off fast. Wait, seriously? That's your family? Apparently. You need anything? Nah, just confirming. Thanks, man. Hung up and stood there staring at those vans. I went back inside, that information filed away in the back of my head, wondering if tonight would make it relevant. Speeches started around 8:30. Caleb's best man told a Vegas story that probably sounded funnier in his head. Stepmom's dad gave a toast that was basically a flex about venue costs and investing in your children's happiness. The guy went on for 10 minutes about square footage and imported marble like he was pitching a timeshare. Then Dad stood up, and my stomach dropped. He was wrecked. Not tipsy, not buzzed, full-on sloppy drunk. Gripping the mic stand to stay vertical, slurring words, swaying like he was on a boat. Started rambling about family, legacy, how proud he was that Caleb had made something real of himself. He emphasized real, like he was reading from cue cards, Stepmom wrote. Some people never figure it out, he said, scanning the room with glassy eyes. Some people waste their potential on pipe dreams. His gaze landed on my table for a split second. Some people never grow up. Half the room nodded along like this was wisdom. The other half looked frozen, staring at their drinks. He kept going. 10 minutes of barely coherent rambling about responsibility and success and making your family proud. Every third sentence felt aimed at me. Passive-aggressive digs wrapped in motivational speaker bullshit. The kind of speech that sounds inspirational until you realize it's character assassination with a backdrop of string lights and centerpieces. The cousins next to me were suddenly fascinated by their phones. Finally, he wrapped up, stumbled back to his seat, and my jaw unclenched. Figured that was the worst of it. Then Dad set the mic down and started walking, straight toward me. One of my cousins noticed first, her eyes going wide. Then the people at tables 15 and 16 turned to watch. By the time Dad made it halfway across the room, heads turned in a wave, like watching a car accident in slow motion. Everyone knew what was coming. Nobody could look away. Look who decided to show up, he announced, loud enough for 50 people to hear. I stood up, partly instinct, partly because I didn't want him looming over me. Hey, Dad. Don't hey, Dad me. He jabbed a finger at my chest, but missed by 3 inches, his coordination shot. You think you can just waltz in here after years of nothing? The cousins at my table suddenly had urgent text messages to answer. The marketing guy found somewhere else to be. Caleb invited me, I said, keeping my voice flat. I came because he asked. He rambled about me being an embarrassment, about not being part of the family. 3 neighboring tables had gone dead quiet. Conversations dying in waves as people tuned into the show. Dad was swaying on his feet, pointing at me like I'd personally insulted him just by existing. The DJ had stopped the music. That's how bad it was. Even the guy paid to keep things moving knew when to let the train wreck play out. Okay, I said carefully. I am leaving. Dad kept going, but then Stepmom materialized like she'd been hovering nearby. waiting for her cue. That same calculated smile, that same shark-eyed assessment. She was feeding off this. Good idea. Stepmom's smile didn't waver. Then, because she physically couldn't help herself, by the way, how much are you making these days? With your little restaurant thing? My little restaurant thing. Like I was running a lemonade stand. Several people at the neighboring tables heard that. A few looked away, embarrassed for me. One woman actually winced. Stepmom's smile never flickered. I do fine, I said. I'm sure you do. She looked me up and down, gaze lingering on my suit, a $3,200 custom piece I'd had made last year. That's a nice suit. Did you rent it for today? And that was it. That was the exact moment I decided they could solve their own catering problems. You know what, Stepmom? You're absolutely right. I should go. I walked straight through the reception hall, past the dessert station my crew had spent 12 hours prepping, past the tables still eating food my company had cooked, past all 280 guests who had no idea what was about to happen. I could feel Stepmom still smiling behind me. Hit the parking lot with my hands shaking from pure adrenaline. Got in my car and called my operations manager. Hey, Pull the team. All of them. Right now. Dead silence. Boss, we're mid-service. Dessert hasn't even... I know exactly where we are in service. Pull them anyway. Pack everything and get out. This is gonna blow up. You understand that, right? Yeah, it is. This is my family's wedding. They just made it crystal clear I'm not welcome. So neither is my company. You've got 20 minutes. I could hear him processing this, probably calculating logistics and damage control simultaneously. You're the boss. But for the record, this is going to be a disaster. Good. Make sure everyone knows. This is on me, not them. Nobody's getting fired or written up for following a safety protocol. Actually, tell them they're all getting bonuses for handling a difficult situation. You serious? Dead serious. Now move. I hung up and leaned against my car, watching the service entrance. My heart was hammering. Part of me couldn't believe I was actually doing this. The other part couldn't believe I hadn't done it years ago. Heritage contracts have a clause I wrote in 2019 after a groom's dad took a swing at a server. Hostile work environment provision: if ownership gets physically or verbally threatened at an event, we can pull the crew and walk. My legal counsel said it was solid if we had proof. Security footage, witness statements, that kind of thing. The thing about heritage weddings, they're full service. We bring everything: plates, glassware, flatware, linens, chafing dishes, dessert stations, coffee setup, even the decorative centerpieces. Venue provides space and maybe basic furniture. Everything else is ours. For 280 guests, we were running almost 30 staff on site, and the loading dock was maybe 10 feet from the prep kitchen. We drill emergency breakdowns every quarter. Venue fires, health emergencies, that kind of thing. So when I said walk, my team didn't panic. They just switched to training mode. Within 7 minutes, my crew started moving. The floor supervisor came out first and gave me a quick nod. She'd been with me 4 years, knew better than to ask questions mid-crisis. Dessert station went first. Chocolate fountain and 60 individual plated desserts my pastry team had spent 12 hours on. The wedding cake, a 4-tier vanilla masterpiece with hand-piped sugar flowers, got wrapped and loaded like we were extracting state secrets. Then the espresso bar, the late-night snack station that hadn't even been unveiled yet. Every piece of equipment we'd brought. Linens, flatware, the decorative centerpieces, all of it. People definitely notice servers hustling past with carts and equipment, but at a place like Olympia Fields, staff are always moving. Nobody's thinking catering just dipped. They're thinking, oh cool, dessert prep, or must be switching setups for dancing. The band was playing, speeches were wrapping up, everyone's attention was locked on the front of the room where Caleb was thanking people for coming. By the time anyone realized the dock was empty, the trucks were already halfway to the highway. We left them awkwardness. Took 16 minutes total. 16 minutes to dismantle a $35,000 catering setup and disappear. Watched the last van pull out, then walked over to the venue manager's office. She was doing paperwork when I knocked. Looked up confused, but not alarmed yet. Can I help you? Yeah. Need to leave this. I handed her my business card, the one with my name and CEO Summit Catering printed across it. Have the father of the groom call my legal counsel if there are questions about tonight, or the lack of service. Her confusion deepened. She looked at the card, then at me, then back at the card. I'm not sure I understand. You will in about 10 minutes when someone asks why dessert's not happening. Have a good night. Got in my car and drove home, phone already lighting up in the cup holder. Ignored it, put on Foo Fighters, cracked the window, enjoyed the drive back to the city. Behind me, based on what I heard later. Absolute chaos. Venue manager went to check on dessert around 9:45 and found an empty prep kitchen. Guests started asking questions. Someone noticed the catering vans were gone. Caleb came looking for me, found my seat empty. Stepmom had a complete meltdown when she realized what happened. Started screaming at venue staff like they'd personally stolen the food. Dad was too intoxicated to understand until someone spelled it out. Your son owns the catering company. Your son just left. So did all the food. Sunday morning hit me with 52 missed calls and roughly 90 text messages. Didn't even bother reading most of them. Made coffee, took my German Shepherd Max to the park, came back and started damage control. Caleb's texts were pure panic. What did you do? Everyone's losing it. Dad's threatening lawsuits. You ruined everything. Dad's texts were exactly what you'd expect. You're finished. I'm taking everything you have. You'll be working fast food by Christmas. Stepmom's texts were a masterclass in manipulation. I always knew you were selfish. Your mother would be ashamed. You showed your true colors. That last one almost got me. Almost. The family group chat, which I'd forgotten existed, was a complete mess. Aunts, uncles, cousins weighing in, half calling me petty and vindictive, half pointing out they'd witnessed the confrontation and weren't buying Dad and Stepmom's victim act. One cousin sent a private message. I was 3 tables away. Saw the whole thing. Your dad was way out of line. Stepmom, too. What you did was extreme, but honestly, they earned it. My phone rang. My operations manager. Morning, boss. You alive? Barely. How's the team? Confused as heck. Worried about their jobs. Nobody's losing their jobs. This is on me. Make sure everyone knows. And tell them bonuses hit Friday for handling an emergency situation professionally. You sure about that? Completely sure. Spent the rest of Sunday drafting an email to my legal counsel. Sent him screenshots of the texts, summary of what happened, the heritage contract with the hostile environment clause highlighted, venue manager's contact info for security footage. He called an hour later. The clause is solid if we can document what happened. I'll reach out to the venue for their security footage and any incident reports from staff. Your father's public confrontation qualifies as hostile behavior toward ownership if we have proof. And the bad news? Bad news is family lawsuits are ugly. They're going to claim breach of contract, emotional distress, reputational damage, the whole playbook. This could drag for months. Even if we win, it'll cost time and money. Let them try. I'm not backing down. Figured you'd say that. I'll draft a response. The venue manager called Monday morning. Professional but clearly stressed. I need to understand what happened Saturday. My stepfather and stepmother created a hostile environment at the event. I exercised my right to terminate services under the contract. I see. We have security footage from the reception. Would you like me to forward that to your attorney? That'd be great. Thanks. Off the record? Her voice dropped. I watched some of it. Your stepfather was extremely intoxicated. The confrontation was uncomfortable. Staff wrote incident notes because they were concerned about potential violence. I understand why you made the call you made. Small victories. By Tuesday, word had spread through Chicago's catering scene like wildfire. My phone wouldn't stop. Vendors, planners, even competitors calling to gossip or offer weird support. Most reactions were positive. Nobody should take that kind of disrespect. Good for you for standing your ground. Some were critical. Could have waited until after the wedding. That's someone's wedding day, man. I didn't engage with the critics. I'd spent years swallowing my pride, accepting scraps, being the bigger person. Where'd that get me? Table 17 and an intoxicated stepfather calling me an embarrassment. Wednesday, my legal counsel forwarded me a letter from Dad's attorney. 11 pages of aggressive legal theater. They wanted full refund of the $22,000 deposit, plus $75,000 in damages for willful sabotage and intentional infliction of emotional distress. His response was surgical. 6 pages. Every sentence backed by contract language or case law. He detailed the hostile behavior, Dad's intoxication, his public confrontation, stepmom's condescending remarks. Referenced the termination clause verbatim. Attached written statements from venue staff who witnessed the scene. Included time-stamped security footage showing Dad approaching my table aggressively, clearly intoxicated. The venue footage was damning. Showed Dad stumbling toward my table, gesturing wildly, clearly not in control of himself. Showed stepmom's calculated smile and her body language when she made the income comment. Audio was rough, but you could make out tone and aggression. You could see nearby guests turning to watch. See the exact moment people realized this wasn't playful family banter. Thursday night, Caleb called. What the hell is wrong with you? Nothing. What's up? You sabotaged my wedding. The bar shut down early. We had to cut the dessert course. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? Sounds rough. This was my wedding day, and you made it a disaster because your feelings got hurt. My feelings are fine. Bullshit. Dad made one comment and you threw a tantrum. You embarrassed me in front of 200 people. Huh. That's all you have to say? You know what? I should have known better than to invite you. You've always been like this. Always playing the victim. If you say so, I tried to include you. And this is how you repay me? By pulling some petty revenge stunt? Wasn't revenge. Just business. Business? What are you talking about? My company catered your reception. When I decided I didn't want to anymore, I pulled out. Silence. You're lying. Check with the venue. Longer silence. Why would you do that? Why cater it and then pull it? Because I can. You're insane. You deliberately set me up to fail. Nope, just changed my mind. Because Dad hurt your feelings? Because you got seated at table 17? Grow up. Cool. Stop acting like this doesn't matter. You ruined my wedding. My wife is upset. Her family thinks I'm incompetent. And it's all because you couldn't handle one comment. If that's what you think. You've always been oversensitive. Dad was joking around and you took it personally. Okay. And now you're acting like I'm the bad guy? I invited you. I tried to include you. And you sabotaged the biggest day of my life. You seated me at table 17. So what? I had over 200 guests. That's not a reason to destroy someone's wedding. Wasn't trying to destroy anything, just withdrew my service. Do you understand how manipulative that is? Manipulative is interesting coming from you. You owe me an apology. You owe my wife an apology. I don't owe you anything. Yes, you do. You deliberately humiliated me. You humiliated yourself. You put me at table 17. You let Dad call me an embarrassment. You let stepmom grill me about my income. Then you're surprised when I don't want to keep catering your party. That's on you. You're blaming me for your own actions. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just done. Done with what? With this. With you. With pretending we're family when I'm just an obligation. That's not true. Sure it is. But I'm not catering for the privilege anymore. You're throwing away our entire relationship over a seating chart? Among other things. What other things? Doesn't matter. Yes, it does. I don't owe you an explanation. You owe me something. I don't owe you anything, Caleb. Not anymore. You're being crazy. You need help. Maybe. Don't come crawling back when you realize what you've done. Wasn't planning on it. I'm your brother. Were. Past tense. I hung up. Settlement talks wrapped in a week. They wanted 80% of the deposit back, threatened a lawsuit. My legal counsel had the venue footage, staff incident reports, and a contract clause that made their position weak, and they knew it. We settled at 45% refund, with a full NDA and release of future claims. They signed. The NDA didn't stop stepmom from fishing. 2 of my employees got LinkedIn messages from her, asking about company operations. Cease and desist sent. She backed off. The real surprise came from Caleb's wife, Kira. She reached out through my cousin, asked if we could meet for coffee. I was skeptical, but agreed. Met at a Starbucks in Lincoln Park on Saturday afternoon. Kira looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back like she'd stopped caring about appearances. Thanks for meeting, she said. Yeah, what's up? I wanted to apologize. For the seating chart, for how you were treated, for all of it. I wasn't expecting that. You don't need to apologize. Wasn't your call. I know, but I should have pushed harder. When I saw you were at table 17, I told Caleb we needed to change it. He said it was fine, that you wouldn't care. I should have insisted. Caleb said it was fine? She nodded. Stepmom made the seating chart. Caleb approved it without pushing back. That stung worse than stepmom arranging it. Not her doing it. That was expected. But Caleb signing off on it, knowing exactly what it meant. I'm sorry, Kira said again. And I'm sorry about Dad and stepmom at the reception. Caleb should have said something. Should have stood up for you. I told him that after everything went down. What did he say? He got defensive. Said it wasn't his job to manage family drama on his wedding day. We had a massive fight about it. That's why we pushed back our honeymoon. You're kidding. Nope. I told him he needed to grow a spine and stop letting his parents treat people like garbage, especially his own brother. She paused. There's something else you should know. Caleb admitted he wanted to humiliate you. He told me during our fight. Said you needed to see where you actually stood in the family. That's when I realized how messed up this all was. I felt my jaw tighten. He said that? Word for word. I was horrified. She looked down. And there's more. Stepmom's been manipulating their finances for years. Convinced Dad to put assets in her name. She's got partial ownership of Caleb's condo, tied into his investment accounts. Caleb just found out a few months ago. I set down my coffee. What? She's been using financial control to keep both of them in line. Caleb's working with someone now to untangle his stuff and get independent. But it's complicated. That's insane. It's calculated. She got Dad to co-sign loans for renovations, then put the properties solely in her name. Convinced him it was for tax purposes. When Caleb tried to buy his condo 5 years ago, she insisted on being added to the deed. He didn't question it, because she made it sound like standard family stuff. We talked for another half hour. She asked about my business, seemed genuinely interested, told me about her work as an ICU nurse. She was solid people. Caleb had picked well, even if he'd screwed up everything else. We're planning something small in a few months, she said as we were leaving. Just close friends and family who actually give a darn about us. I'd like you there, if you're comfortable with that. I'll think about it. That's all I'm asking. 3 months after the wedding, things had leveled out. Business was crushing it, and I'd hired a VP of operations to handle day-to-day, while I focused on growth strategy. Dad never apologized, never reached out. Heard through family that he and stepmom had separated. Financial stress had finally cracked their perfect facade. They'd listed the house, were downsizing. Caleb and I had started having lunch every few weeks. Nothing deep, just checking in. He was working on setting boundaries, standing up for himself more. Still had a long way to go, but at least he was trying. Then on a Tuesday afternoon in November, my phone rang. Unknown number. Almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Hello? Is this about the catering for Saturday? A woman's voice, shaky, trying to sound composed. Depends. What event? The retirement party at Meridian Banquet Hall. Your company is supposed to cater it. 300 guests. It's in 4 days. I pulled up our schedule. Nothing for Meridian on Saturday. Ma'am, I don't have anything on my calendar for Meridian this weekend. What? No, that's impossible. I booked this 6 months ago. I have the contract right here. Heritage Events Catering. That's your company, right? Heritage. Old contract from before the acquisition. Heritage is part of our company now, yeah. What's the confirmation number? She read it off. I had my operations manager pull the file while she stayed on the line. 2 minutes later, he sent me the details. The event had been canceled 4 weeks ago. Deposit refunded per customer request. Ma'am, according to our records, this event was canceled on October 15th. That's impossible. I never canceled anything. Do you have access to the email account that was used to book this? Long pause. It was my husband's email. He handled the booking, but he wouldn't cancel without telling me. Something in her voice clicked. Is your husband named Rick? Another pause. Longer this time. How did you know that? Chicagoland event circles aren't that big. Same venues, same planners, same country club crowd. And stepmom had been shopping her party planning business around these suburbs for years. Of course, it eventually hit my inbox. Ma'am, is stepmom also involved in this event? She's my party planner. She said she'd handle all the vendor coordination. She confirmed everything was set last week. I spoke with her yesterday, and she said... Her voice broke. Oh my goodness. She canceled it, didn't she? Stepmom canceled my caterer. I pulled up the cancellation request. Email came from stepmom's business address. Refund processed, October 18th. Ma'am, the cancellation came from your party planner's email. Refund went through 3 weeks ago. Dead silence. Then quietly, that woman. Later, I found out stepmom had been playing games with her clients' vendors, canceling and rebooking to make herself look essential. This time, her backup fell through and she was stuck. My number just happened to still be on the old Heritage contract. I should have hung up. Should have let her figure out her own problems. Told her to call stepmom, wished her luck and moved on. But something in her voice reminded me of my mom. That same trying to hold it together while everything falls apart tone. How many guests are you expecting? I asked. 300. It's my husband's retirement party. 40 years at the firm. Everyone's coming. Partners, clients, family. We sent invitations months ago. If there's no food, her voice cracked completely. I can't let him down like this. Not after everything. I looked at the calendar. Saturday was fully booked. 2 weddings and a corporate event. We were at capacity. Taking on a last-minute event for 300 would require pulling staff from other jobs, renting additional equipment, and working my team around the clock for 4 days. It would also cost stepmom everything. Ma'am, what's your budget? She named a number. It was high. Higher than our usual pricing. Desperation premium. I'll do it, I said. Full service for 300. I'll need final headcount by tomorrow, menu selections by tomorrow night, and your venue's contact info so my team can coordinate setup. Are you serious? You can actually do this? We can do this. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hung up and called my operations manager. Boss, we're maxed out Saturday. We can't. We're taking one more job. Retirement party, Meridian Banquet Hall, 300 guests, whatever it takes. That's going to cost us. Overtime, equipment rentals, the works. We'll barely break even. I don't care about breaking even. Make it happen. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Kira. Caleb told me what you did for the client. Stepmom's losing her mind. I thought you should know. I texted back, good. The retirement party was Saturday. We crushed it. Everything perfect, food hot, service smooth, zero complaints. The client cried when she thanked me, said I'd saved her husband's retirement celebration, told me stepmom had been sabotaging vendors for weeks, trying to make herself look like a hero when things inevitably fell apart. When the client figured out what happened, she'd fired stepmom on the spot and was considering legal action. I sent her a bill for exactly what she'd quoted me. No upcharges, no last-minute fees, no desperation premium. She sent a thank you note with a $5,000 tip for the crew and a review that lit up our website for weeks. Monday morning, my phone rang. Dad. I stared at the screen for a solid 30 seconds before answering. Yeah? I heard about the retirement party. His voice sounded different, smaller, tired. Stepmom's pretty upset. Good. Look, I know things between us are bad. I know I screwed up at Caleb's wedding. But stepmom's in real trouble. She's losing clients. People are threatening lawsuits. Her whole business is falling apart. And you're calling me because? Because I thought maybe you could talk to the client. Smooth things over. You know, for family. I actually laughed. You're asking me to help stepmom. The woman who spent a decade treating me like garbage. The woman who asked how much I make at Caleb's wedding while you called me an embarrassment. I was intoxicated. I didn't mean, yeah, you did. You meant every word. And now stepmom's facing consequences for her own actions, and you want me to fix it because suddenly we're family again. I'm asking you to be the bigger person. I was the bigger person for 10 years, Dad. Sat at table 17 and took your speech and stepmom's insults and smiled through all of it. Where'd that get me? Silence. You know what stepmom did? I continued. She deliberately sabotaged her client's event so she could swoop in and save the day. The retirement party was just the one that blew up in her face. So no, I'm not smoothing anything over. I'm not making calls on her behalf. I'm not being the bigger person anymore. I'm asking you to help your family. My family seated me at table 17, Dad. My family called me a failure in front of 280 people. My family sold my mom's house without telling me and donated her stuff like she was a Goodwill run. So forgive me if I'm not feeling particularly helpful. Your mother would want... Don't. My voice went cold. Don't you dare tell me what my mother would want. You moved on from her in 11 months. Married stepmom, let her erase every trace of mom from our lives, and played favorites with your kids like I didn't exist. You don't get to use mom's memory to manipulate me now. Long silence. Then, quietly, I'm sorry. For all of it. I should have been a better father. Yeah, you should have. Is there any way we can fix this? Any way back? I thought about it. No, I understand. And Dad? Tell stepmom she's on her own. She made her choices. She can live with them. I hung up. Caleb texted. Dad called me crying. Said you wouldn't help with stepmom's situation. Good. She earned every bit of what's happening. Kira left me. Said I chose the wrong side too many times. She moved out last week. I'm working on being better. It's gonna take time. Kira sent a separate message. Filed for divorce yesterday. Told Caleb I couldn't watch him enable that woman anymore. Getting my own place in Wicker Park. Starting fresh. Thanks for showing me what standing your ground actually looks like. I replied, good for you. 2 weeks later, got an email from Meridian Banquet Hall's event coordinator. They wanted to book us for 12 events over the next year. Attached was a note. The client has been telling everyone about your work. We've had 6 referrals in 2 weeks specifically asking for your company. Dad's still working at 68, body breaking down, pride keeping him behind that register. Stepmom's stocking shelves at Target, living in a studio apartment she can barely afford. Caleb's divorce is getting ugly. Kira's lawyer is going for the throat on asset division. Turns out enabling toxic people cost you the good ones. Me, running a multi-million-dollar company. Meridian contracts locked in. Referrals flooding my inbox. The retirement party client sent 3 more corporate accounts my way. They wanted me invisible at table 17. I made myself unforgettable. My phone rang. New client inquiry. Summit Catering, this is name. Back to work. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.